Now, I don't know about y'all, but I find a perverted sense of entertainment in politics. But when it comes to leftists in politics, they are insane. They are crazy. Their mind has gone so far off the reservation that the tribe is just now has been wondering where they are for so long. They have thought about putting out a search party. Actually, it's longer than that. They have not only sent out search parties, but the search parties are now lost because they have no idea where they are either. And I have no idea where I'm going with this. Just bear with me. But as you should be seeing on the screen, Tom King put out a tweet about, well, Ted Cruz. And yeah, unlike Yellow Flash, I don't like to use Twitter stuff for content as much. I just like to talk about stuff I actually enjoy. But occasionally I will talk about stuff that legitimately pisses me off and I find interesting. And Tom King, he's a hack. And I don't mean this as a writer. From what I hear as a writer, he's a decent one. I question that, though. I mean, he's a hack as in a human being. And I mean this factually, not judgmentally. He's a coward. He is a coward of the highest caliber who, well, yeah, I think I think his service is an insult to other people who have served in the military. Because if I had ever served in the military, which I thought about, but I backed out because I'm kind of a chicken. But if I had been, I would be pissed to have anything in common with this douchebag for what he said. He likes to flaunt his service or that he used to work for the CIA, which I would not brag about. The CIA is not a respectable position to work in. They are scumbags from what I hear. They bomb people. Well, no, they didn't. Obama did that, but he might have been in the CIA back when Obama still ran the show. My point is, though, the CIA does some sketchy stuff based on what I have heard of them, and I do not trust them. Hell, I would not trust them with my library card. I would not invite them to my home for a cup of tea. Mainly because I don't like tea. But yeah, I would not brag about working for them. And this guy, even he makes the CIA look bad. And that's hard. That really is. Because the CIA, from what I hear, they do not have the best reputation. They sound like jackasses. Same with the FBI. And I'm all for disillusioning both of them. But yeah, Tom King, I don't know whether he served in the military and the CIA or just one or the other, but he likes to brag about it. He always brings it up. He always flaunts it. Like it makes him the bestest thing in the world. It doesn't. It does not make you look good. Like there are times to bring up your service when you want to make a point. Like let's say you're trying to make a point about like your stance on a certain position like guns or politics in general. And say, yeah, I fought in the military and I was risking dying for this country, so I would like to know my taxpayer money is going to the right place. Or something like that. Or, yeah, was willing to fight and die for the fact that people in this country have the right to bear arms. And I didn't want to fight for it just for my country to take that right away from me when I got back home. Something like that. But this guy just brings it up every chance he can, and it's kind of pathetic. And like I said, he's a coward. What he did to Jay Lee is obvious of that. And if you don't know what I mean by that, look, I will be bringing up a Bounding Into Comics article that goes over it, and I might link it. Might. I forgot to do that last time, but actually, I'm just now realizing I forgot to do that. Oh well. Yeah, and he basically just called, as it shows on the screen, he's calling Ted Cruz a traitor and a bad guy, and this is why I hate leftists. Like, I do not like people on the right that much. Well, politicians anyway. Like, the average Joe who's on the right, I got no problem with. Same on the left. But the crazy ones, every time they speak, I'm like, oh my god, someone floor this asshole. Like, someone just knock him the fuck out. Like, give him a reality check, because these people have forgotten what reality is. Like, they're no longer going through a trial of separation with reality. They're going through divorce proceedings, to borrow a joke from Razor Fist. But, and it's kind of disturbing sometimes. Like, these people treat politics like a religion, and it's kind of disgusting. You know, like back when the BLM riots were happening and buildings were being burned, businesses were being destroyed, they were trying to destroy churches, from what I hear. Yeah, the left was fine with that happening. They did not care the fact that you could lose your livelihood or that the church you go to gets burned. They do not care. When it's their cathedral, however, to borrow a term from Young Ripa, then they care. Because the White House and the whatever building was those riders were going to go into, that was like their cathedral. Then they cared. They only care when it's relevant to them. The rest of the time, they pretend to care about stuff like black people or race issues, which they usually tend to make worse. But yeah, they pretend to care about that shit. But when it comes to their precious government offices, then they care, and that is why I say leftists are full of shit half the time. Well, more than half the time. It's kind of like whenever a Trump supporter gets accused of a crime, I more than likely do not believe it. Because how many times have we seen them accused of something and it turns out to be bullshit? Like, what was that kid's name? The one with the Trump supporter who was smiling while an asshole Native American was beating a drum in front of his face. I forget his name. Sandman was his lawyer. So yeah, if you ask me what's more likely, a leftist doing something wrong or a Trump supporter doing something wrong, odds are I'll bet more money on the leftists because they are unhinged. They are not well. They need to be put in a mental hospital. And that is not. And if you don't believe me, just look at the Tom King tweet. And Tom King put this tweet up just after Ted Cruz appeared on a Daily Wire interview with, I believe, Michael Knowles. He is a good guy. I think he is. Him and Andrew Klavan are probably the only two on the Daily Wire I can actually stand. Ben Shapiro, I'm mad about, and Matt Walsh, I think, is a piece of shit, personally. Mostly because he just says the stupidest of shit sometimes. He's a bit like Jim Sterling. It's a flip of a coin on what you'll get. There's a 50% chance you'll get bullshit, 50% you'll get sound reasoning. But anyway, what did Ted Cruz say for Tom King to put out this tweet? During the discussion, Knowles asked Cruz, when we think about the difference between populism and elitism and all these isms that are coming up, what is the future of the Republican Party? I would hope dissolution. And is there any way that we can stop this inevitable flow of progressive history? Cruz would answer the question in three parts. When he got to the third part, he began the process to discuss the inevitability part of the question that brought up Thanos and Avengers Endgame. Cruz did. And the third point, you talked about the inevitable, and I have to say it brought to mind the Avengers Endgame, and you know, Kerry doesn't quite have the massive Thanos hand and fingers, but you can see the inevitability in the finger snapping. He continued, and it actually, what is interesting and Endgame is curious, have you noticed in how many movies how often rabid environments are the bad guys, whether it's Thanos or go to Watchmen? The view of the left is people are a disease. They buy into the Malthusian line that there are too many people in the world and that people are bad and everything would be better off if we had fewer people. It's kind of true, actually. They have a disturbing view towards the population. He concluded, Thanos wanted to eliminate 50% of the life forms in the universe with one finger snapping. A clip from the show would be shared on Twitter by Media Matters researcher Jason Campbell. It's this clip that Tom King would respond to and proceed to accuse Ted Cruz of being a traitor. And here's the tweet. I will now read it. Hey, at Ted Cruz, I say this as a comic book writer, as someone who served his country in two wars, as someone who saw with my own eyes the insurrection of 1-6. Senator, you're a bad guy, you're a villain, you're a traitor, and again and again and again, you're a loser. Resign. And that's all I wanted to read. It also goes over his various little bitch fits over Jay Lee and who's the guy who played Superman? I think he's a cop now. I forget his name. He made a comment that, and basically what this actor said was, you cannot say truth, justice, and the American way in today's climate. And I believe him. The political climate on the left is too anti-American and too just insane for that now. And as I've pointed out before, Tom King likes to bring up his service, although I couldn't see the tweet while I was recording this audio, so I had to bring up the article to read that. Just for you to have some context if you don't know about the situation. And I don't see the problem. I don't see what Ted Cruz did, and he's my senator, so I do feel like I should support him in this because he did nothing wrong, and he's not a bad guy. This is another thing about the left that's annoying. Their hyperbole. They they are scumbags. There's no way around it. Rightists probably are scumbags too, but leftists are the epitome of scumbaggery because all they have is hyperbole and emotional arguments, and that's why I think they're losers. They have no real argument. That's why they attack people so much. Like they attack Thomas Sowell, a black man, because he doesn't conform to their narrative. They call him a coon and Uncle Tom a sellout because he doesn't believe in stuff like women marrying the state and having a bunch of different children out of wedlock and getting free money for it. Or something like that. I can't remember what Thomas Sowell did that pissed them off. Also, he doesn't, well, I don't know exactly his politics, but I don't think he supports the whole women don't get paid as much as men. I think. I'd have to go back to look that up again, but I could swear he said something. He was questioned about that once. But yeah, no, he seems like a sane guy, which is more than I can say for Tom King, who again, I say is a hack as a human being. That's why I say people like him can never compare to Stan Lee in their contributions to society, because this guy contributes nothing but bitching and whining. Oh, and deconstruction of heroes that people love, though I question why they love them sometimes. Like, there are two people who I think are ruining comics. There's him and Mark Waid. Probably some others, but those are the two main ones. Because they don't let you enjoy stuff, and they spend more time bitching online than actually doing their job. Technically, I'm guilty of the same thing, but I'm not trying to make everyone miserable. I'm actually trying to contribute to society. I'm pretty sure they would like to see it burn. And you think someone who served in the military or the CIA would have been more productive than Tom King, but yeah, he's not. Actually, he's kind of a little bitch, basically from what he did to Jay Lee. That sounded like a bitch move. Instead of talking to someone about it or being respectful, he decides to try to cancel the guy. Same with what he did to what he's been trying to do to Ted Cruz, or what he's trying to do now, or what he wishes he could do. The guy has about as much influence as. Well, he has a little more influence than maybe. All he can really do is influence the comics industry in a way. But his credibility there must have waned in some way because he was, I think, fired or let go, or for some reason, he stopped being in charge of Batman and was moved to something else. And I think he had a quota to meet, which he is now not meeting. And he's doing God only knows what. But yeah, that's my overall thought on the subject, which is, yeah, Tom King is a crazy asshole and an idiot. I mean, what Ted Cruz did does not constitute treason. What Snowden did, maybe. Maybe. Who knows? I'll never know the full story, and I highly doubt I want to. But yeah, I like Ted Cruz. He's one of the few Republicans who actually seems to have a spine. And that's probably why Tom King doesn't like him, because these leftists and Democrats, they do not like Republicans who actually stand up for themselves and actually have a thought of their own that's not, oh, we just need to work with the other side, which is a pitiful move. Like, I find the whole coming together horseshit narrative, yeah, no, none of that. That is not ever a good idea, because the only time Republicans and Democrats come together is when they're Eiffel Towering you in every hole. To borrow another quote from Razor Fist. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. And overall, yeah, Ted Cruz is just an awesome senator. It's a shame he couldn't be president, but considering who beat him, I'm kind of glad with that. Yeah, I do kind of wonder what would happen though if he had been president. That would have been interesting. Like, two people I wouldn't mind seeing being president. There's him and Rand Paul. Because from what I hear, they are not like establishment hacks. They seem to have their head out of their ass. Anyway, that's my thoughts on the subject. Let me know yours in the comments. Remember, the game was obviously rigged from the start. And if you could not see how obviously it was rigged, I kindly suggest you clean your face with some water and your eyes out, because it is quite obvious at this point how rigged it is. Especially with the whole GameStop situation. But anyway, have a nice day, and bye.